let me see. With her daughter, I guess. And let me see what I put on the back of that one.
I think that's Luther and that's Margaret.
Oh, these are so sticky. Margaret's two girls, Margaret Virginia, Mary Monnery Weaver and Ruth Virginia Weaver. Now this is what my Aunt Margaret tells me. Of course, I don't know, because I've never met these girls. But do they look familiar to you?
Yes, they do. I don't know the girls.
I'm sure they're taken a long time ago, because they look sort of old, the pictures themselves.
But I just can't get off that. Don't look a bit like her.
This is when
she was so sick.
Grandmother came out because she was very sick, and I guess she was feeling very bad. This is my mother when she was young, so I think I look like her a little bit.
Grandmother.
Yeah. That's the close-up of this picture again here. That's just that little part there. So you see
Isn't that wonderful that you can make pictures like that?
So you can blow it up and see it better.
That's my daddy now. That my grandson's got a mustache, and every time I've got a picture of him that I keep, that I just love when he was about 18. So I keep it and I show it to him. I said, "This is my Donnie. That's not my Donnie." It was but it's just a fad.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to the university.
Now, here are all the latest pictures that I got. When Linda went home at her mother's funeral, she found this bag of old negatives, and I'm still not sure who everybody is. I think she said this was Linda and her sister and brother. I don't know who the boys are. I don't know who this man is. And this is supposed to be the Reaves house here, John Reaves' house.
You mean Grandpa's house?
Yes,
I don't know.
That's a better picture.
Yeah, I see it now. There.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's not a very good picture. Do you recognize that man?
Well, is that Ghosty?
I don't know.
I don't know whose house that is. Whose house did she say it was?
Well, she doesn't know either.
I think that's him just acting up. Sometimes he likes to do that next door laugh, And I think that's who that is.
That's
as well as
Goldstein.
I can see, I can't see.
You said Goldstein? Do you recognize these two little boys? Are they yours? That's a great picture. And here's the John Reaves' house again. And this is supposed to be Sam and Linda, but we don't know who that is.
Must have been they always kept someone, that lived there to help, and work, working on the farm.
I've been hired help there.
And my granddaddy, my grandmother was in bed over 2 years, bedridden for 2 years.
This is Sarah J. Williams.
And they kept a man and his wife there, just to take care of her. And then my granddaddy Reaves was in bed for about a year.
So did they die sort of at the same time? Or,
no, my granddaddy.
I think I have that date somewhere. What was wrong with your grandmother? Do you know? Did anyone know?
No, I don't know. That's Sam there, Henry.
And his wife and your sister, Annie.
Is that Annie?
And this must be my grandfather.
Here's Sam again.
Yeah. His wife. And this is Thomas.
I hadn't seen Thomas but once since
his wife, Mamie. Now here's some of these more of these pictures. We don't know who they are.
That's Henry. That is too.
Henry who?
Sam.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's who that is. Yeah, that's Sam.
Oh, for heaven's
sake. We call him Sam. His name's Henry.
Yeah.
That's his daddy.
Huh.
That's who that is. That's Sam. Couldn't be anybody else.
That's funny. Linda wasn't there when
Well, Linda didn't recognize it as being her father.
That's him. That's him. Just the
this boy, who she said she thought that was Francis' son? Francis Henrik's son. She thought.
I don't know. That's on a brick wall. It looks kind of like it could be down there. But of course they didn't build a garage there. I don't know who that is. Of course I never did see Francis' children, you see.
Oh, I see. Well, here's some more of these pictures that we don't know. It's not very good picture. The negatives are very scratched and very old. Now there again, it's supposed to be this little boy, and that's supposed to be Hamrick, she thought.
That may be.
Did you ever meet him?
No, I never see him.
And here's your sister. This was taken this past Christmas at Margaret's house.
You mean this is Anne?
Uh-huh.
Well, she looks good.
Yes, she does.
Stinking thing. Wonder how much she weighs.
Stinking thing. Well, she's putting on a lot of weight. Margaret said that all the time she was at her house, all she did was sit and eat and watch television.
Well, I wish I
She wouldn't go for a walk, and she wouldn't do anything.
Well, she better get some fat off then.
Yeah, she's doing all right.
But I'm too skinny. I just weigh 108.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just keep losing.
That's too bad. Here's the last picture that belongs to Linda. You
Now
can tell
that's-
it's your house, your Hunter house.
that's-
I mean, Hunter house.
That's-
But who was that adorable little boy?
I don't know who that could be.
That
That
Maggie
must
Sands
be.
child.
That must be Evelyn. Elsa's oldest little boy. Because that's the kind of way she dressed him. And this is that thing again. I wish I could get a hold of her.
That thing is her sister.
We went down to Florida to see her about 10 years ago, I guess.
1962.
Yeah, when we came back from Germany. And she showed us around the Busch Gardens and all the places. And
Cypress Gardens.
we couldn't keep up with her.
She's
Well,
so fast.
She's walking around with it.
We couldn't, she's always 2 steps ahead of us. She kept, come on, come on. And we were so tired, and we came home and said, oh, I'm too tired to make dinner. Let's go out and eat. Don't be silly. Sit down, put your feet up, and I'll make dinner. Here she's 3 times my age, and I couldn't even get my feet up.
Well, you know,
And she started making dinner.
up until 2
Incredible.
years ago, I was the same way, and I had that Hong Kong flu,
Oh, dear.
and it really did get me. Why, I was just felt as well as I ever did. And the postman came by one day, and my son was out there, and he said, well, Don said, your mother looks younger than you do. And I said, well, I feel as well as I did, and I was 30 years old. And the next day, I had to go to the doctor. And I don't know whether it's because they just giving me medicine. Sometimes I think that's it, medicine.
Well, the down fever leaves you weak, too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
any flu.
I had that flu, and it was really bad.
Well, it
That's
like,
all the pictures I got.
it like it got me, I tell you. But it's my heart now mostly, and I have gallstones, gallbladder trouble. That's the reason I can't eat.
Yeah.
Here's some in here. Little old Donnie gave me this for Christmas. I think that's one you sent.
Yes,
You've seen that.
Do you have any of the old family pictures here that
No,
I
I
could take a
don't
look
have
at?
a one.
These are your grandchildren. Yeah, you sent me this little one, yeah.
That's Clarence's boy. And this is
Move you in here.
That's Carol, sure, my granddaughter's teacher. That's my great grandchildren. Little boy and little girl.
Was your husband light here?
No, his hair was black.
No, we also
Now
have
this
blonde.
is not my husband. This is a big.
W-I-L, how'd you say?
W-I-L-E-Y.
L-I.
W-I-L.
See, I can't spell in English. I can speak it, but I can't
You
spell it.
want me to write
Yeah.
down?
Would you please? Just put it right underneath there.
W-I-L-E-Y.
Wiley. Okay. I get so hung up on these letters. Thank you. This is what I can't understand. If Nanny and Margaret and John and your grandmother all lived in Autauga, the parents must have been close by. They must have been very close by with their parents who all had been married there and lived there. But where did they come from? I can't figure it out.
I don't know either, but you see, I don't know why Grandpa Reaves moved to Bibb County, but he was living up there and had this big farm. And my daddy was out, he was in Autauga County. So he was walking, then they walked over it. So he stopped there to get a drink of water. And Grandpa asked him his name. And he said, "My name's Hunter," and I think I found it too. He'd seen his girls. And he stayed there, Grandpa Hunter. And he lived there.
Married both of them.
Yeah, married Sally, and then she died. He used to tell me, he said, "You look just like Sally," he'd tell me. And they always said he was partial to me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't. He just loved everybody. He was so sweet. I tell my kids the other day how he used to play with us, you know, my grandchildren.
So Nanny lived right there in Watauga, and so did her sister.
But you see, the reason they didn't see each other, because, see, Grandpa and Grandma Reaves lived way up there in Bibb County.
Yeah.
Well, Aunt Nan, and they lived way down in Watauga County. And to go that far in a buggy,
That's pretty
it
fun.
would take all day long, or maybe longer.
You think that's a chance that the parents actually lived in Watauga County before?
I don't know.
I haven't looked because I really didn't think
Now,
they were.
Aunt Louise Parker lives down there, if you can find her.
Aunt Louise Parker.
That's cousin Ann Parker's baby daughter. And she was Uncle John Williams' oldest daughter.
Gotta find the Williams from here. I'm getting lost in all this.
They're there.
John Miller? You mean that was one boy was John Miller?
Milliner, M-I-L-L-I-N-E-R, Milliner. And that was the same one that Cape Miller, that Milliner. And that's who my mother was named for, Capus
Oh, Capus.
Milliner.
Capus.
No, his wasn't Capus.
He wasn't Capus?
That's
Oh, he's down here. Capus Spiegner.
No, Cape Spider.
Oh, Spiegner, yeah.
And
But
May Spider, of course you mean all those you know Spider.
this is the Spigners down here, and we have the Parkers up here. Now, Mabel had a second name. What was that you said? Mabel
They were Claire.
Claire. Okay, Vesta.
E on
Claire like that?
it. I think so, isn't
I don't know about how she spelled her name.
C-L-A.
That's all right, though.
And Vesta, do you spell it W-S-T-A?
That's the B-E-S-T, but I guess B-E-S-T-E-R.
A V? Okay. Anna Louise and John Milner.
And
1, 2, 3, 4 children.
L.B.
L.B.?
She had two boys, John Milner and L.B.
What is L.B.? Oh, that must be Lancelot
Yeah,
Parker,
right.
Jr.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Okay.
We always called him L.B.
L.B. Parker, Jr.
He's the one I asked at the funeral about who Grandpa Hunter married.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't tell me, he told me to go ask Miss Carter.
Yeah, of course, she was the one that showed the headstone. On the headstone it says, "Here lies Lovey Ann Sumlin, wife of Andrew Jackson Hunter." And right beside it, the other stone that says, "Here lies Andrew Jackson Hunter, born South Carolina. No date, died," and then half a day underneath. And that's the only thing that's in that whole graveyard. She said it's filled up with Parkers, Hunters. What was your two names? But there was no
Parkers and Hunters.
Summerlands and Maxes.
Vassars and, let's see.
Yeah, the
Well,
Summerlands
you've got
too.
a picture of the graveyard.
Yeah, but I didn't
The
bring
names
it.
on
I didn't bring it with me.
Yeah, I just saw it.
I didn't have it with me,
I
dear.
saw it in one of his books.
Couldn't have it. Because I put it in that big book at home. No, I don't have it. I had it in there before.
Oh, the McGee's.
McGee's?
Oh, that's the Reeves.
No. Well, who were the McGee's? Are they relatives of ours?
No, they were just
Just neighbors?
neighbors. And the Parker, where my daddy was, the reason they named him Parker. See, they were just real close friends, the Parkers. They all lived there close together. And there's a place down there called the Hunter Graveyard. That's what they call that graveyard.
Oh, I see.
Hunter Graveyard, and then it's another place called Hunter Hill. And that's where Grandpa Hunter lived.
Oh, so it's actually called Hill, Hunter Hill.
Hunter Hill. But it's all, no houses on it, even nice, it's grown up, you know.
You getting all this down?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, let me see now. We have Anne Corinne Parker's children. We have Nanny Spiegner. We have the boys were married.
I used to be real interested in this when she first got started, but
He's
she lost me.
Yeah, I got too many people now. I can't keep, unless I keep looking at my notes, I get lost. Let me see now. Henrietta married a Mr. Paulson. You don't think he had any children. Kate Williams married a Greason.
Gresson, G-R-E-S-S-O-N, I think it was. They didn't have any children.
How did you spell it again?
I think it's
G-R...
Grissom.
I think it's G-R-E-S.
S-A-M?
Could be. I don't know just exactly how he spelled that.
And they had no children, and then of course the two boys didn't marry, so they had no children as far as we know. So that takes care of all of John Williams' children. Now,
Of course, cousin Ann Parker then, she had a bunch of kids.
Anne Parker. Well, she's the one that had the 4 girls and the 2 boys, right? Yeah, that was the Mabel, Vesta, Anne Louise, John, Milne, and L.B. And then you said one died when I was 12?
I don't know her name. I didn't know that till a week ago. I was talking to my husband's sister on the phone, and I was asking her about it, and she said yes, that she had another daughter, and she was the prettiest girl she ever saw, and said she died young.
Okay, well that pretty well covers that up. Now, there are of course descendants living everywhere, but how do we ever find them? Do you know any of the ones, the great-grandchildren today, any of these descendants that might be able to help us?
No, see, they're all too young. They don't know much about it.
Well, I'm starting to think that just perhaps the Williams came from Catawba.
I'd just love to know where they did come from.
Well, I'll find out. I don't know when, but I'll find it somehow.
Now, you might go to the courthouse at Prattville, or even you could find out maybe at
We're going to Ottawa Courthouse, the Bibb, which is Prattville, I guess, and
Centerville.
oh, Centerville, yes. Where's Prattville?
Otago.
Is that Ottawa? Yes. And
what's Perry County?
oh yes.
Now, there's not very much of that.
See,
I think I sent you the most of that.
so it starts out with you. And Sarah Annie Calista. So that would be the same that's already in my grandmother's. Okay.
Now, this is all of my family here. And
your boys. And your
this
brothers
is,
and
of
your
course,
sisters.
not mine.
Yeah, that's in my grandmother's too.
Yeah. And I never did get any of the deaths.
My grandmother put one down that's still alive. She got so carried away with the whole thing. I don't know who she thought had died, but where is it? I'll show you. She has John Andrew's son put down as he died in 42, I believe. Robert L. Hunter, 1936.
Robert L.
And he
He's
said,
not even dead.
no. And she...
So that's one thing I've got on her. I'm skinny and poor, but I have got more fish than she has. I wish I could see her. Oh, I'd give him
But you have the same information here that's in this one, so I won't bother writing
now
it
that,
out.
I saw that. Where is that? Let me see it again. I wondered why.
Robert L. Hunter, 1936.
Well, I think she might have been given his birthday. No.
See, here's your mother and your father and Tommy
and Margaret.
and Margaret
And,
John Edward that died in the plane crash.
But I don't know when that was, but this, Robert's very much. He came to see me not long ago, and he knew that if he comes anywhere near Birmingham, he calls me. He is the sweetest thing.
We can't find a death certificate of Tommy. Everybody says he died in Oklahoma,
He did.
but there's no death certificate. So that's very strange.
They won't take this and have it rebound, but somehow or
You
another I
should.
want to do.
See, I put the marriage dates on top of these things.
Is that
here.
my
Yes, So that's as much as I've got done so far on that. Well, that's interesting. I thought that the Reese girls that I found had to be John's sisters, but I wasn't really sure unless someone told me so.
Well, I can't remember anything about any of Grandpa Reeves' relatives, even seeing any of them. Now, there was a man, Stewart was his name, but I don't know his other name, and his wife. Well, his wife died, and he still lived on there and took care of Grandpa.
So he had to be a relative, but you don't know how.
No, I don't think he was related.
It was just a caretaker, more or less.
Yeah, that's what he was. And see, they was both bedridden. Of course, they weren't sick at the same time, but they had to keep someone. And Alice Stewart stayed with them a lot. That's Uncle George's. That's Uncle George's oldest daughter. Oldest child. She lived with them a long time. But I was just a child.
Mm-hmm. What I can't understand, I find John Reeves Sr. in Calhoun County in 1850 and 1860. They must have sort of retired and gone to live with the son, John Reeves.
Mm-hmm. They could have.
And this is the thing that we thought was strange. What did he do? Did he sell his land perhaps in Calhoun and sort of moved in with his son when he got too old to do anything?
Well, he lived with him. He was the one that was hid under the smokehouse.
Yeah. But he died first because this settlement says that John Reeves died first and left everything to his wife. And now she has died, and don't bother mentioning her name at all. So that was one thing that really threw us, because it said John Reeves Sr. of Bibb County instead of Calhoun County. So the only thing we could figure out was, he sold.
I don't remember much about him. The only thing I remember about him was my mother used to tell us about that, about him hiding from him. Of course, that was, we could remember things like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see some of the questions I wrote down.
Oh, I did.
We found a jack. I should have my notes here, so I'll show you how I keep score of all this, because I have so much at this point now where I
don't know what she's got.
I don't know what I got unless I keep checking my notes, because we go to the archives. Now here, this is from the Reeves Bible. Now before Francis Hamrick found out who I was, I wrote to Bibb County Courthouse requesting a photostat copy of the marriage certificate of your grandparents. So little Lynn got very impressed when she saw his signing Lieutenant Colonel George Holt. She didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
So she goes home, gets the Bible, and she sends me this photostat, and she explains who she is, and if she can be of any further help, just write. So I called her on the phone, and she got very excited, and she promised she'd send the death page, and from that moment on, silence. I have written, I've sent her everything I found, silence. So I don't know how I'm going to get it, but we need it so bad.
When I went down there, I wanted to go upstairs, because we always had such a good time there, and I just wanted to go up there and look around, and I didn't want anything. And Francis wouldn't let me go up there. But if I was to ever go back down there again, I'd go up there. I'd walk off and go on up there.
My grandmother did 10 years ago. She walked right up, and she said the old loom was still there. And
I wonder about the clock. I'd just love to know what they did with the clock.
Was it a grandfather clock?
Oh, it was almost from the ceiling to the floor. It was the prettiest thing. But I didn't see it. I went, I don't know, it's been a long time. But I looked in, that was supposed to be in the room where they used for the living room. It was Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom. But it wasn't in there. But she wouldn't let us go nowhere.
That's a strange person, I guess. She wouldn't even let Linda in the house. She let us stand out on the steps. And finally, she was so desperate, she didn't know I had gotten the Bible pages. And so she finally said, well, can I see Lynn? So she said, just a moment, and she just let them stand there. And she came back and said, she's in her room, doesn't want to see you. Now, Lynn wrote to me, that one letter she wrote, and said, Linda said she was going to come and see me, but she never did.
Well, I don't know.
So, but this is what I got from her
Well, that
before.
made Betty so mad because she wouldn't connect to her Betty about it. Says, Mama?
Oh, yes.
Now, there's not very much of that.
See,
I think I sent you the most of that.
so it starts out with you. And Sarah Nanie Calista. See, that would be the same that's already in my grandmother's. Okay.
Now, this is all of my family here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your boys. And your
this
brothers
is,
and
of
your
course,
sisters.
mine.
Yeah, that's in my grandmother's too.
Yeah. And I never did get any of the dads.
My grandmother put one down that's still alive. She got so carried away with the whole thing. I don't know who she thought had died, but where is it? I'll show you. She has John Andrews' son put down as he died in 42, I believe. Robert L. Hunter, 1936.
Robert L.
And he
He's
said,
not even there.
no. And
You
she,
tell her that's one thing I've got on her. I'm skinny and poor, but I have got more sense than she has. I wish I could see her. Oh, I'd give him
but
back
you
her.
have the same information here that's in this one, so I won't bother writing
Now
it
that,
out.
I saw that. Where's that? Let me see again. I wondered why.
Robert L. Hunter,
Yeah.
1936.
Well, I think she might have been given his birth date. No.
See, here's your mother and your father
And
and
Tommy.
Tommy
And Margaret.
and Margaret
And,
John Edward that died in the plane crash.
But I don't know when that was, but this, Robert's very much alive. He came to see me not long ago, and he never, if he comes anywhere near Birmingham, he calls me. He is the sweetest thing.
We can't find a death certificate of Tommy. Everybody says he died in Oklahoma,
He did.
but there's no death certificate. So that's very strange.
Betty won't take this and have it rebound, but somehow or
You
another I
should.
want to do.
See, I put the marriage dates on top of these things.
Is that
here.
my
Yes, So that's as much that I've got done so far on that. Well, that's interesting. I thought that the Reeves girls that I found had to be John's sisters, but I wasn't really sure unless someone told me so.
Well, I can't remember anything about any of Grandpa Reeves' relatives, even seeing any of them. Now, there was a man, Stewart was his name, but I don't know his other name, and his wife. Well, his wife died, and he still lived on there and took care of Grandpa. Lived in
So
the
he had to
house.
be a relative, but you don't know how.
No, I don't think he was related. He
It was just
Stewart.
a caretaker, more or less.
Yeah, that's what he was. And see, they was both bedridden. Of course, they wasn't sick at the same time, but they had to keep some. And then Alice Stewart stayed with them a lot. That's Uncle George's. That's Uncle George's
Stewart's
oldest daughter.
daughter.
And the oldest child. She lived with them a long time. But I was just a child.
What I can't understand, I find John Reeves Sr. in Calhoun County in 1850 and 1860. They must have sort of retired and gone to live with the son, John Reeves.
They could have.
And this was the thing that we thought was strange. What did he do? Did he sell his land perhaps in Calhoun and sort of moved in with his son when he got too old to do anything?
Well, he lived with him. He was the one that was hid under the smokehouse.
Yeah. But he died first because this settlement says that John Reeves died first and left everything to his wife. And now she has died and don't bother mentioning her name at all. So that was the one thing that really threw us, because it said John Reeves, Sr. of Bibb County instead of Calhoun County. So the only thing we could figure out was, he sold.
I don't remember much about him. The only thing I remember about him was my mother used to tell us about that, about him hiding from him. Of course, that was, we could remember things like that.
Let's see some of the questions I wrote down.
Oh, I did.
We found a jet. I should have my notes here, so I'll show you how I keep score of all this, because I have so much at this point now where
She doesn't know what she's got.
I don't know what I got unless I keep checking my notes, because we go to the archives. Now here, this is from the Reaves Bible. Now before Francis Hamrick found out who I was, I wrote to Bibb County Courthouse requesting a photostat copy of the marriage certificate of your grandparents. So little Lynn got very impressed when she saw his signing Lieutenant Colonel George Holt. She didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
So she goes home, gets the Bible, and she sends me this photostat, and she explains who she is, and if she can be of any further help, just write.
Well,
So I called her on the phone, and she got very excited, and she promised she'd send the death page. And from that moment on, silence. I have written, I've sent her everything I found, silence. So I don't know how I'm going to get it, but we need
well,
it
you
so
know,
bad.
when I went down there, I wanted to go upstairs, because we always just had such a good time there, you know, and I just wanted to go up there and look
That's
around,
right.
and I didn't want anything. And you know, Francis wouldn't let me go up there, but if I was to ever go back down there again, I'd go up there. I'd
But,
just
well,
walk off and go on up there.
my grandmother did 10 years ago. She walked right up, and she said the old loom was still there,
And I wonder about the clock. I just love to know what they did to the
that's
clock.
what the grandfather clock.
Oh, it was almost from the ceiling to the floor. It was pretty thing. But I didn't see it. I went, I don't know, it's been a long time. But I looked in, that was supposed to be in the room where they used for the living room. It was Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom. But it wasn't in there. But she wouldn't let us go nowhere.
That's a strange person, I guess. She wouldn't even let Linda in the house. She let us stand out on the steps. And finally, she was so desperate, she didn't know I had gotten the Bible pages. And so she finally said, well, can I see Lynn? So she said, just a moment, and she just let them stand there. And she came back and said, she's in her room, doesn't want to see you. Now, Lynn wrote to me, that one letter she wrote me said, Linda said she was going to come and see me, but she never did.
Well, I don't know.
So, but this is what I got from her
Well, that
before.
made Betty so mad, because she wouldn't, I connect with Betty about it. Says, Mama, she was a sergeant. She goes to Mama, and that's Clarence's wife. Says, we'll go down there sometime. We go down there and says, we'll see that place. We'll see. I'm upstairs with you.
I think we'll all have to gang up on them down there.
Well, I don't see why she would care.
Well, Linda seems to think that she's afraid that somebody wants to take the place away from her because it wasn't left properly in the will.
No, it wasn't left in the will.
And this is
See,
why.
Aunt Alice lived there.
Yes.
My cripple aunt, old maid aunt. And she lived there, and when she died, Oscar and Sophie still just lived on there, and Frances, of course, is their daughter.
Yeah. Well.
But that's peculiar. That's crazy. I mean,
Isn't it though? I mean, nobody wants to take it away from her, but if she's living with all this
why
fear,
did you get all that? I just.
This is all the census that I'm writing off. This is the census I sent you on Reeves' children, and this is your grandparents in Centerville. And this is the birth page out of the Reaves Bible. It starts off with John.
Well, did you ever decide about the Lenora and all of those?
Yes, I think we've got them all correct now. We have William Thomas Reaves. We have Margaret Fanny, who married George Stewart. We have, let me see now.
Mary Lenore?
What's the next one called? Mary? Lenore Reaves? And it's
That's
Mary.
Lenora.
Yes, Lenore, that's right.
She died.
Mary
She died young.
Oh, she was the one that died young?
Mm-hmm.
Then her name was Martha. Martha Lenore, yes. She would be on that death page. And John would be on that death page. I don't know why she went. And here's Alice, who died the old maid.
That's mother,
Virginia.
isn't that?
Yes, that's your mother.
Yeah.
And Sally,
That's
Sarah
see,
Jane.
my daddy married Aunt Sally first.
Yes.
And Aunt Sally died. And
That's
then he married my mother.
Yeah. Do you know where he married her first? There's no marriage certificate. Could that have been married in Perry County or Tuga County?
Well, they lived in, now they could have been married in Perry County or Talbot County or somewhere down there because they lived there a while.
In which one? The Trigger County or both?
I don't know. I didn't ever know they lived there, but one time my husband said that my daddy was talking to him and was telling him about when he and Aunt Sally lived down there. That's all I ever knew about, but didn't know what county they lived in.
Well, we're going to go check in Tuba and Perry that we can find there because they're not in at Bibb.
It's a Tolga now. You'll have to say Tolga.
A Tolga?
Yeah, when you go outside of Tula, they don't know where
Two up north.
Yeah.
Well, my English is self-taught anyway, so.
Yeah, you'll have to say a Tolga.
A Tolga. Okay. Okay, let me see now. I found let me see. I found a Jack Summerlin.
Oh, well.
And I remember.
Yeah, I remember him.
Was he Whitfield Summerlin's son? How was he related?
Yes, he was. And
Jacob Summerlin.
now John.
Tolga County.
Uh-huh.
But look at these crazy names. Sebra, Robert Carson, Pirelli, Nancy, Randall, Simmer, Lynn, James P., Zachariah J.
I don't know, but they were peculiar people. But I've seen now his son, Jim Sumlin. That was his name.
Jim.
Uh-huh.
That's a James, yeah.
That must be him right there,
Yeah.
James P.
But I declare I'd just give anything. If I could go with you down there and go to down there, Oscar.
You have his address, this Jim?
No, he may be dead by now.
I see.
I used to see him. I knew him, when I lived down there.
Mm-hmm.
But Oscar Baxter lives down there, and right with him, and he will know all about him.
They live in the same house?
Mm-hmm. No, not the same house.
Oh, so neighborly.
It's way out in the country now. The houses are, you think it's in the wilderness when you get down there.
We're going to try to see Oscar Vassar. And who's the lady that could tell you about Andrew Jackson Hunter? Was that Mrs. Corder?
Well, I wrote to her, I wrote to her, got my friend that I sent you her picture for that. She sent the letter to her, and she couldn't tell me who Grandpa Hunter married.
Oh.
But
Well, we know that. That's Lovey Ann Summerlin.
Yeah.
But there was a Mrs. Corder that
Yeah.
took Linda out in the woods and showed her the gravestones of Andrew Jackson Hunter. And I was just wondering if this might have been the thing that you had talked to at the funeral. You wrote that you had gone to a funeral down there and you met a lady that could tell us about Andrew Jackson Hunter. And then...
well, now, that would be Oscar Vassar's. I wrote him a letter and he never did answer. I don't know why. I even sent him a self-addressed stamped envelope.
I wrote him and Linda wrote him too and didn't get an answer.
I wonder why.
Well, he could have died. Is he old?
No, he's there. I saw him at the funeral, and his
Oh.
wife too.
Well,
Now I don't know about Miss Carter. You could go to see her, but they say she's real, and her health's real bad.
well, if Linda's already met her, she probably can't tell me much more.
She's
than.
real nice, though.
It's strange that nobody knows where Andrew Jackson Hunter came from. He just, all of a sudden, here he is.
Well, didn't he come from?
We know he's from South
Carolina.
Carolina, but that's it.
I've heard my daddy say a lot of times that they came from South Carolina.
They don't even know when he was born. On the gravestone, it just says born South Carolina, no date. Don't know how old he was or where he came from in South Carolina. So we really stuck there. And now we're trying to figure out where Frederick Summerlin came from. As you can see from here, his two first children, Charity Ann and Whitfield, were born in North Carolina, where they must have been married. Then Lovey Ann, who married Andrew Jackson Hunter, was born in Georgia. And then the last three were born right here in Atoga, Harriet, Frederick, and Charles. So they really moved the whole lot.
Who were they?
This is your great-grandmother, Lovey Ann, that married Andrew Jackson Hunter. This is your grandparent. This is your grandmother, right?
My grandmother.
It's Lovey Ann Summerlin. That's how it is. Here.
My grandmother is
Here's John Parker. And here's his mother, Lovey
Ann Sumner.
and Andrew Jackson Hunter.
I remember my mother, you know, she had cancer.
Oh, she did?
Had cancer on her face. And my mother used to dress that.
Oh, my goodness.
And now another one family, Aunt Mandy, that's my daddy's baby sister. She had cancer on her nose. And did you know that the doctor cured her? He took her nose off. And she lived, I don't know, I guess she's dead now, but she lived to be real old.
How much did she have left of her nose?
Not a bit. It was just as smooth as your face. But after they got where they could do that transplant, you know, where they could,
surgery.
Yeah, they,
I'm trying to think of her name. Aunt May.
Mandy. Mandy.
Oh, she was going to call Amanda.
Amanda.
Amanda Abbott. Oh, my
She had 2 girls.
Where's my notes on that?
I wrote them down.
Yeah, I got it all written down on these sheets here. That's the only way I can keep track of it. So Lovey Ann Sumlin died of cancer on the face.
No, I don't know whether that killed her or not now, but I've heard my mother say that she used to dress it, you know, took care of her. Now, I don't know whether the cancer, what the reason she died or not, I don't know. But I know that, and Paul, I used to hear him call, my daddy used to call Charity Ann Sumlin, and
might have other things. You might have the death date of your great-grandparents, John and Margaret Reaves. But there must be something on that page that she doesn't want you to see.
Of course, you'd see him, he just, you know, looked like the thing wrong with him. He's all right, he can figure and do anything else better than I can, you know. As far as his mind's concerned, he's perfect.
He just worked too hard.
Well, I asked the doctor about it, what in the world caused it. He said it was just the wall catching up with it.
Oh,
That's what it was. And then the older he got, the worse. See, he went all through the war. Would sit in the Pacific. He said he'd been stayed many times all day and all night. And a foxhole with it full of water. That's where he breathed.
Oh, my heavens.
He was paratrooper too. Well, he was the master sergeant, and he had to sort of lead his men. And I don't know, he's a person that I think anything hurts him worse, you know. He said he never did tell his men to jump, but he always jumped and told them to fire. And I don't know, he's kind of tender-hearted in a way.
That's the worst kind of to send to war.
If he just say he didn't care, you know, it would be better.
Yeah.
But he's so good to me. And his daddy, he'd like to kill that boy when his dad died. He loved his daddy better than anything in the world. They're just like 2 kids together.
Oh, this is Buddy, right?
His name's Don, but we all have always called him Buddy. I don't think his daddy ever whipped him. I never whipped him no more. Whipped him cursing. Always whipping his daddy then. Little bitty thing, wasn't about 2 years old, just walking good, you know. And we had a big old scupping arbor in the yard. And you may not think, don't you go out in the woods and get dogwood trees and make a broom that you sweep with, you know. And makes a good yard broom, you know. And I was sweeping under there so that he and David could have a good place to play. Oh, first I heard somebody, that Dad. And I looked around and said, what in the world did you say, boy? That Dad. And boy, I took that little balloon, you know, got his leg. And you know, I never have since then heard that boy say, "My gosh," no kind of byword.
Shocked it right out of him.
Yeah. But I know Dutch say that a lot. Now, Dutch was a person that, when he was mad, he wouldn't say nothing.
Oh.
But just in talking to you, you know, and all he'd say curse words. Just, you've seen men like that, say sort of curse words.
Oh, my father does it all the time.
And then there was two boys, about 18 years old, that lived right close to us, and they put Buddy Clarence, and they used to say things like that. But he didn't say it no more. That don't sound very good to him. But he was the best child we ever saw growing up. If we told him to do anything, he always went nuts, you know, just like we told him. And then that was it.
He sounds like my mother or two alike. If, from what I hear, grandmother had her hands full, and Margaret and Thomas were always fighting. And my mother was always the lady, never in trouble, always doing what she was told.
To Daisy.
Yeah.
She was. Daisy was the sweetest thing. She was so pretty.
Yes, she
Had
was.
such pretty hair.
She,
And Margaret was right pretty.
Oh,
But
she-
Margaret was spoiled. She wasn't near as good a child as Daisy.
oh no, I understand she had quite a temper,
Mm-hmm.
which she still has.
Well, I never have wrote to her. I know she's mad at me, but I just didn't feel like it.
Oh, I'm sure she's not mad at you.
She wrote me a letter, and I should have asked her, but I just couldn't. I've got to go have something done in my eyes. I got where I can't see.
Can you read at all?
Can't read in it. And I don't look at television too much.
Well, it might be your diet. You know, if you're not eating too well, maybe
I
your
think
diet.
that's what it is. I think it's what I'm eating.
Well, when I get back, I'm going to write Margaret what I've done and what I've learned, and I'll tell her that I met you and that you're just not up to writing at the time being.
Now, I'll tell you about the only thing I need. I have to boil all my chicken. Can't eat fried chicken at all. Okay. I boil it. I can't even bake it. It makes me sick. Hurts my stomach. I eat baked potatoes and boiled chicken and string beans and light bread. Never toasted anything.
How about fresh vegetables? Are you getting that?
No, can't eat anything.
No fruit.
No kind of raw vegetables at all. I can't even eat salad. Now, I eat a little bit of apple sometime, but I'm not supposed to do that.
That's difficult.
I think it's that old hernia, he said.
Yeah. Oh, did you know your mother has a hernia? Your sister called and said that at her last examination they found she had a very small hernia.
Where?
At the end of a gullet, I bet you.
I forget what she said, but I said, well, was it serious? And she said, no, but it's there.
They don't operate, don't let them operate.
No, it wasn't that important. They said it was just a very small, but his mother probably was overweight. She had to go on a diet, so I'm sure that's going to help too.
Now milk, I can drink milk, but it has to be skim milk. Can't drink a bit.
Can't have anything with fatty stuff in it.
No sweet.
Do you want some more coffee?
Can't eat cake or anything like that, or pies.
Well, I'm trying to cut down on my food. I like food better than anything in the world, and I'm always 10 pounds overweight. So.
I think you just right.
Well, I just lost 9 pounds. I have to go on a diet every about 4 months. When I get nervous, I eat, and
Yeah, that's
when the letters don't come in the mail, I'm waiting for I get nervous and I eat, and waiting and waiting, because that's what doing ancestry is. You wait and wait for the mailman to come every day, and you think a lot and you get nervous. And
well, you ought to do that because you got a long time to get that up. Good work.
well, no, I feel it's a good time to do it now, where Grandma can remember and you can remember, and
Now, when you're gone, I remember a lot more things, a lot of people's names.
well, if you can think of writing it down and send it to me.
I'm going to, next time I'll get me a piece of paper, you see, and when I think of little things, and I write it down, and then I send it to
When you
you.
have enough just been. This is what Lady's doing out in Oregon. She's Jim Stevens' daughter. You know, Ed that you dated, his brother's daughter is living out there. And she has loved the Stevens better than anyone, I guess, and has really pestered her grandmother, Fair Moncrief, and everyone with questions, where did they live and what did they look like? And she actually made notes since she was 12 years old. And she has given me everything she has, more or less. She has a few secrets. She hasn't decided if she wants to tell me yet. And, you know, and that drives me crazy, wondering what it is she hasn't told me yet.
Well, I can't figure why that, maybe if you could get that little girl Frances off, maybe she'd tell you things.
Well, I'm hoping that if we go straight to the courthouse, of course she's supposed to be working there.
Oh, is she working at the courthouse?
She was the day I called. She had just started working there the day before or something, and she wanted to find out, you know, I think her whole reason for going there was to do research on her family. And she's going to school at the same time, wasn't
Well,
she?
how old is she?
19.
I didn't know she had a daughter.
She has a daughter and a son.
I knew she had a son.
Yeah. I forget what
Isn't
the
the
son
son a priest or a preacher or something?
Oh, no, that's the Stevens down in Raymond, in Montgomery.
Well, I wrote to her twice and sent her a self-addressed envelope with stamp on it. She never has answered.
No, I think she's very frightened with all this. You know, she's just...
Well, I don't want to think she's got it. You tell her when you get out.
I doubt very much I'll get
I can
into
handle that.
Well, I'm just wondering if Lynn has ever gotten any of my letters, you know? I mean, if she'll stand and look at Linda right in the eye and say she doesn't want to see you, and then Lynn tells me that she never came to see her, she might be throwing everything right in.
I can't understand that.
Well, she
But
might...
did you know, Joan, way before we moved up here, I said, it's been 35 years ago, because we've been up here 20-some-odd years, I had a telegram come to me down where we lived, telling me to come up there, that we would inherit so much of the Reeves estate. But I just laid it aside and didn't give it thought, you know. I didn't think we would have any part of it, so I never did even go up there, never did even write back or anything. But it was the Reeves, it's Will Reeves and Henry Reeves. See, they contested the will. Will and Henry, that's Uncle Tom's boys.
Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, Thomas William Reeves.
Yeah, Tom, my mother's brother, you know. He had,
But then Oscar Reeves actually did leave a will where he left everything to Frances?
I don't think he had a will.
Oh.
Aunt Alice was the one that was
Oh, she's the one that left us.
left it to them. And, but they didn't have a will because a lot of that land had grew up in timber. So they was fixing to sell that timber, and Will and Henry Reeves found it out, and they made them pay them their part.
Oh,
They got their part of it. I don't know how much it was. You see, that was Uncle Tom. He had Will and Henry, and two girls, Lee and Dove. But Dove died when she was just about 18. But Cousin Lee Reeves married I can't think of his name, Robertson. And last I heard, first we lived in Birmingham.
Are you getting this down? Because I don't have any of these names.
You don't have Will and Henry Reeves?
Let me see. William Thomas married Mary Ellen Capus. John Williams, Henry Anna Lee and Lenora. And you said her nickname was Doda?
No, they called her Doda.
Doda. Now, are these the children that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And their mother was named Ann Chisholm.
Yeah.
I knew her real well. She was the sweetest little lady.
Now,
I used to go spend the night with her.
You just said that Anna Lee married who, did you say?
A Robinson.
A Robertson, but I don't have any
Oh,
of
I
that.
can't think of his name, but they didn't have any children.
Charlie Robinson?
Yeah, that's who she married.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
And Will Reeves married Kate Fonder. I sent you that, didn't I?
Kate Fonder, yes.
And Henry Reeves
Kate.
married Kate Stewart.
Stewart, And then Lenora died young.
Mhm.
Okay.
No, how is Frances Lynn related? She's one of those L's?
No. Her mother was married first to someone else. We don't know his name. She had Oscar Reaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Frances is the child of Oscar.
Okay.
So, what are you? Your half cousin?
Yeah.
A half sister?
No, I would be her half aunt.
Half aunt. There you are. Yeah. Well, I guess perhaps then because you didn't come and sell the estate, as you might be afraid that now everybody's coming at them from all sides.
Well, the Reeveses, and they financed. I think it was Alistair, a married one, wrote me a letter. But I never did fool with it. I never did go up there. I didn't care that much about it. The next trip, I've got to get in and go to court and nothing. So I just forgot it. But I found out after then, I heard that they had to pay Will Henry Reeves so much money to park their part. They got that penny. But I don't